the PowerPoint, that may be better. Yes, that's the one.
Good afternoon. We call our Board of Zoning Appeals meeting for Augusta, Georgia, Richmond County to order 2:33 p.m., July 15, 2024. Have the board members read our minutes from our June meeting? If so, could we get a motion in a second? For approval?
Yes.
Board members, please make sure you turn your mics on and speak into your mics, please.
I make a motion to approve, or second the motion for approval.
All right, so who's making the motion?
Oh.
You're making the motion.
Yes, second. I'm
All right,
sorry.
we have a motion, of course, and a second to approve our meeting minutes from our June the 17, 2024 meeting. All in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Hold, please. Board member,
We postponed the King Avenue, and it hadn't came back. Can y'all tell us what's going on with that? Or,
hold on. Can we take the vote? Go ahead. Let's go ahead and take the
well, I
vote.
think this needs to be part of the minutes. That's the reason I'm asking.
Just for clarity's sake, can we do the minutes first, and then I'll double check and make sure we have everything, and maybe add this as an addendum item?
Well, I don't know that it has to be on the agenda. I think it kind of just needs, since it was postponed, I just think we kind of need to know, and it hadn't shown back up in 2 months. I think we kind of need to know what the resolution was.
So, you want me to take it now, Chairwoman?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Narrate.
So on May 21st, we notified the applicant in BZA 24-13 that the 1001 King Avenue was postponed until Travis Loeb, the applicant, could provide planning and development with the new ownership information for 3817 Maddox Road. In regards to that, we only received the information last, I think a week and a half ago. So we just got our hands on it. So the deed was executed, and we were just provided with a copy of that. Brian said he just got this about a week and a half ago. So I think we'll be in a position to take it up once, now that we have it.
That's
So,
fine.
so it'll probably be on August's agenda?
That'll be fine.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Director. Once again, we have a motion and a second to approve our June meeting minutes for June 17, 2024. All in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The minutes have been approved. Our meeting statement of powers reads, "The Augusta Board of Zoning Appeals hears and makes decisions on applications for variances in accordance with powers granted under Section 1-4-88 of the Augusta, Georgia Code. The applicant must provide any scale drawings or plot plans, including all dimensions, pictures, or any other supporting information at this meeting. Only information presented at this meeting may be used in any future hearings regarding this petition. Any person affected by the board's decision may file an appeal with the Superior Court of Richmond County, Georgia, within 30 days of the decision of the board. The meeting will be conducted in accordance with the board's bylaws and rules of procedure and the latest edition of Robert's Rules of Order, unless otherwise directed by the majority of the board in session at the time. A minimum of 10 minutes shall be afforded for the presentation of data, evidence, and opinions on each side of a petition. If more than 10 minutes is afforded to one side, then an equal amount of time shall be afforded to the other side. The board encourages participation in this hearing, and there is no restriction on who may address the board within the allotted time. But the board asks that public comments be brief, on subject, and directed to the board, not to any individual or group." I believe that we have a agenda addendum item.
Madam Chair, I'll move to add that to our agenda.
Second.
Okay, it has been motioned and second for us to add agenda addendum BZA-24-16. All in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, it has been added to the agenda. All right, staff, it's on you.
Good afternoon and welcome to the July 2024 BZA meeting. Our first item is the agenda addendum item. It's BZA 24-16, and it is a petition by Mark Dreyer on behalf of Richmond Enterprises, LLC, requesting variances to Section 28-B9 of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance to allow for 2 building-mounted signs, each measuring 881.5 square feet, where the maximum sign surface area of 229 square feet is allowed on property located at 699 Broad Street, which is Zone B2. Staff will present.
Good afternoon. My name is Amanda Cruz, and I am a Planner 1. So I'll go ahead and get into this sign variance. This variance request concerns a 0.77 acre tract located on Broad Street. This property is situated in the central downtown neighborhood and features a 180,059 square foot building built in 1966. The proposed signage is part of an overall re-signing effort associated with the recent Wellstar AU Health merger. Existing signage displaying the AU Health/Augusta University branding will be removed from the building and will be replaced by the proposed Wellstar signage. In the findings, starting with number 1, the property is in the B2 General Business Zoning District. Number 2, the applicant proposes to place a new sign on the east and west sides of the property. The length of those sides of the building is 149.5 feet. Number 3, the proposed sign surface area for each sign is 881.5 square feet. Number 4, the proposed increase in sign square foot surface area is approximately 297% increase in surface area. Number 5, the proposed 881.5 square foot area sign is approximately 2.5% of the overall surface area of the building per side where the sign is being proposed. Number 6, the property is in the downtown historic district and a certificate of appropriateness will be required for the proposed signage. Number 7, the Augusta, Georgia Downtown Design Guidelines state on page 66 that wall-mounted signs should be no larger than 1 square foot per linear foot of the front facade of the building, up to a limit of 40 square feet per business. Number 8, at the time of completion of the staff report, no application has been submitted to the Historic Preservation Commission for approval of the proposed signage. And lastly, number 9, at the time of completion of this report, no inquiries have been received by the staff concerning this variance application. This concludes staff presentation.
All right, thanks, Amanda, for the staff's presentation. Is Mark Dry here? Please go to the podium. Please state your name, your address, and please let us know that you have the authority to speak on behalf of Richmond Enterprises, LLC.
Yes. My name is Mark Dry with Caruso and Dry Design Group, 531 Rose Lane Street, Marietta, Georgia. And I do have the authority to speak on behalf of Richmond and Wellstar.
Okay, you heard staff's presentation. At this time, of course, it's your time to share with the board anything you would relating to this petition.
Okay, I sure will. As I think was discussed in the pre-meeting, I think staff had prior to the last meeting had suggested that we try to stick to a 600 square foot sign as opposed to what we have been requesting, which was 881.5, I believe, on each side. So we've gone back since that time, met with Wellstar, met with Richmond, and also looked at this again. We still feel like the 881 is appropriate, and I want to share kind of the rationale for that. We've got a couple of images that you can see. I guess you guys are seeing them on your screen, correct? Showing the difference. Obviously, there's an aesthetic call here, which is very subjective. So we're showing the 881 versus the 600 and kind of how that would look on this building. When we went back and evaluated this, the rationale for the larger sign was viewing from primarily the Calhoun Expressway. There is a kind of a zone where you can see this building and be able to read this sign or see this sign, but roughly around 13th Street on the expressway. As you enter downtown and get, as you kind of come down into the downtown area, trees pretty much block your visibility of the building. So that is kind of the zone where this sign would be seen. We looked at letter height calculations versus distance to that, and I think that would be probably the third slide, I believe, Ryan. There, that should, so that the distance generally where you would see that's 4,650 feet. Rule of thumb in the sign industry is 30 to 35 feet per inch of letter height. We calculated it at 40 because that's even smaller, and came up with the size that we've got now, which is the 881.5 square feet sign, which gets us the letter height so that that sign is readable, legible from that distance. So that was kind of the rationale for it. Furthermore, we looked at what has historically been on that building and went all the way back to when the building was originally built, which these are the original signs on that building. We did the calculations on this, and it was over 1,200 square feet. So we felt like that was a little bit of a justification, that this wasn't anything abnormal. We also looked at, I think Amanda mentioned, the amount of sign area is 2.5% of the entire wall surface area, which I know that different municipalities calculate as part of their sign orders different methods, but one of the key methods that I've seen in other jurisdictions is a percentage of the wall area, which is they typically go either 5% or 10%. So we're well below that in terms of how big we are relative to the size of the building. So that was the rationale for why we kind of came up with this size. Are there any questions on this? Does that make sense?
Yes, Mr. Dry, you did a very good job.
Okay.
They were thorough in your presentation, so tell them to keep you around.
Okay.
But
Sometimes I
nevertheless, at this time, do we have any objectors in the audience? Okay, do we have any questions or comments by board while we're considering that? If we could have staff recommendation.
In regards to this application, the criteria for granting the variance has not been met. The Planning and Development therefore recommends denial of the variance request as it does not meet the minimum criteria of Section 33 of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance. However, Should the board move to approve the applicant's request, staff recommends the following conditions. The approved variance would allow for the 881 square foot surface area sign to be mounted on the east and west sides of the building. Number 2, a sign permit and a building permit shall be obtained prior to the mounting of the signage, and the proposed signage shall comply with all other standards and regulations set forth by the City of Augusta, Richmond County, Georgia, at the time of construction. And then number 3, the variance must be approved by the historic preservation. I'm sorry, the sign. The sign must be approved by the historic preservation. And that concludes staff's recommendations.
Okay, thanks, Director. At this time, do we have any comments or any, my board members?
Can I just ask for a clarification from staff? On point 1 in the recommended for approval, you say that it's actually 600 square foot written, but I wanted to make sure that we are discussing their height as they're proposing.
Right, as they've proposed is 881.
Thank you. And
If I'm not
then
mistaken.
while I have your attention, are you agreeable to those conditions stated?
Yes.
If there are no other questions by the board members, I make a motion to approve with the staff's recommendation for approval.
Second.
Okay, it has been motion and second to approve this variance request with staff's recommendations. All in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Oppose.
All right, so you have your approval. The letter will go in the mail to you this week.
Fantastic.
Once again, thanks for a wonderful presentation.
Thank you all. Appreciate
Okay.
it.
Next item in your agenda packet is BZA 24-19. It is a petition by Bequila Harmon on behalf of Augusta, Georgia Land Bank Authority requesting a variance from Section 8-8 of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance in order to reduce the front setback from 30 feet to 5 feet to construct a single-family residence on property located at 33 Gregg Street. Staff will present.
Good afternoon. Amanda Cruz, Planner 1. So this case involves a 0.9 acre tract located at 33 Gregg Street, Augusta, Georgia, 30901. The property is currently undeveloped and situated in a single-family residence neighborhood along Gregg Street, a residential street. The applicant seeks a variance to reduce the western front setback from the required 30 feet to 5 feet to construct a one-story single-family residence. Moving into the findings, with number 1, the applicant seeks to reduce the setback from 30 feet to 5 feet from the property line adjacent to Gregg Street. Number 2, triple frontage lot bound on all 3 sides by local streets, Gregg Street Lane, and Sherman Street. Number 3, the lot is approximately 38 feet wide and 100 feet deep. Number 4, with the triple frontage property, the property setback requirement is 30 feet on all sides according to 8-8A of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance. Number 5, sections 8-8A of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance allows for a minimum front setback that is the average of the front yards of the existing structures on the block face. This allows for a 20-foot front setback along Gregg Street. Number 6, according to the applicant letter of intent, the purpose for reducing the setback is to allow for construction of a single-family residence. Lastly, number 7, at the time of completion of this report, no inquiries were received by staff concerning this variance application. That concludes staff presentation.
Okay, thanks, Amanda. Bequila Harmon. All right, if you would please come to the microphone here to my right. Please state your name and that you have the authority to speak on behalf of Augusta Land Bank Authority. You've heard staff presentation, so then, of course, you can present whatever information you would like to share with the board. Please state your name and your address for the record, and that you have the authority to speak on behalf of Augusta Land Bank.
Yes, my name is Bequila Harmon. 2413 Cunningham Drive, Augusta, Georgia, 30906. And what was the last name?
You have the authority to speak on behalf of Augusta Land Bank.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so who's going to make the presentation?
I'll speak for him.
Okay, could you please then state for the record, do the same thing we've asked him to do if you're going to speak? I mean,
My name is Anthony Williams, and I live at 2232 Silverdale Road, Augusta, Georgia, a representative of ISM who prepared the drawings for him, and I'm prepared to speak on behalf of the Land Bank Authority.
Okay, sir, you can go ahead with your presentation. Thank you, sir.
Okay, like planning and zoning said, the applicant's request was to reduce the left property line from 30 foot to 5 foot along the unnamed alley, and then in the front.
Mr. Williams, please speak into the microphone. I think the board members are having a hard time hearing you.
Okay.
Pull it closer to you, sir.
All right, this is on behalf of the Land Bank. Mr. Aquila is asking for this variance to reduce the side property line along the unnamed alley from 30 foot to 5 foot, and in the front to 20 foot with the average with the properties that is existing along the road for the purpose of building a single-story house.
Okay. Are there any objectors in the audience? Okay, any questions or comments by board member Mooney? And then we'll go to Brigham.
Go ahead. I'll defer to Mr. Brigham. Go ahead.
Mr. Aquila, do you plan on making this your personal residence?
No, sir. It's going to be a spec property.
It's going to be a what?
It's going to be a.
Okay. I was just curious.
Can we please have staff recommendation?
Yes. The application and the parcel does meet the criteria for granting a variance. Therefore, staff is recommending approval of this variance with the following conditions. The establishment, number one, the establishment of Gregg Street as the front street with a front setback of 20 feet. The establishment of the side setbacks for number two shall be 5 feet on the east and west property lines. Criteria and condition number three, that the rear setback along the northern property line shall be 20 feet. And then number four, that the development of the property shall comply with all development standards and regulations set forth by the City of Augusta, Richmond County, Georgia, as amended at the time of development. And this concludes staff's recommendation.
Mr. Williams and Mr. Harmon, are you amenable to those conditions? as
Yes,
stated?
I just have one question, so just for clarity, so we can redo the plat. So the rear is going to be 20, not 30, as shown on proposal.
That is correct. I calculated it at 20% of the lot depth.
All right, so we go with 20 foot. All right, thank you.
No other questions? I make a motion to approve.
Second.
It has been, is that with staff recommendation?
With staff recommendations.
Okay, it has been motioned and second to approve this variance request with staff's recommendation. All in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, you have your approval. The letter will go in the mail to you this week. Thanks, have a great one.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have BZA item 24-20, and it is, I went to the wrong page, so let me get back to the right page. My apologies. If I can get there. My agenda page was stuck. I apologize for that. So 24-20 is a petition by Michelle Young on behalf of Thunder Investment Properties LLC requesting a variance to Section 28-B-8 of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance to allow for a freestanding sign 45 feet in height where 30 foot is permitted. And Section 28-B-8 of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance in order to allow for a 333 square foot area sign where 200 square feet is permitted on property located at 129 Mason McKnight Parkway. Staff will present.
Good afternoon and happy Monday, everyone. My name's Ashley Catterton, and I'm the Development Services Administrator with the Planning and Development Department. And as Carla mentioned, the applicant is requesting a variance to allow for a larger freestanding sign to be permitted within the heavy industrial zone. And this is for the property located at 129 Mesa McKnight Jr. Parkway. And this request is seeking to increase the maximum sign surface area from 200 square feet to 333 square feet, as well as to increase the maximum height from 30 feet to 45 feet. And the proposed use of the property is for Tim's Harley Davidson motorcycle dealership. And according to the comprehensive zoning ordinance, the maximum surface area allowed for this, the heavy industrial zone, is 200 square feet for freestanding signs. Therefore, it's a total increase of 67% or 133 square feet. The maximum height allowed for the heavy industrial zone is 30 feet for freestanding signs. Therefore, there is a total increase of 50% in height or 15 feet. The distance from the interstate I-20 to the proposed sign location located at Mesa McKnight Jr. Parkway is approximately 1/4 mile. The topography initially slopes downward, starting from the center line of I-20 and back up towards the proposed sign location. And this is approximately less than 10 feet, a difference in topography or above sea level, or a difference in elevation is less than 10 feet. And the staff reached out to the applicant on July 10th of 2024, requesting for the standard sizes of signs that Harley-Davidson provides. At the time of completion of this report, I had not received a response, but during pre-meeting today, you were provided with those standard sizes and were able to review those. A proposed conceptual site plan and sign project dimensions were submitted with this application along with the proposed signage rendering. The adjacent land uses to the east, south, and west of the subject property are zoned in a light mix of heavy industrial, light industrial, and agricultural, and a majority of the surrounding properties are zoned general business, so B2. And at the time of completion of this report, staff did not receive any inquiries regarding this variance application. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Thanks, Ashley. Michelle Young, please come to the microphone. Please state your name, address, and that you have the authority to speak on behalf of Thunder Investment Properties, LLC.
Hi, I'm Michelle Young of Atlanta Sign and Lighting. Address is 1001 Brownwood Road, Madison, Georgia, 30650. And I do have authority to speak on behalf of Thunder Investment Properties, LLC.
Okay, all right. You heard staff presentation. Now is your time to share with the board members anything you would regarding this petition request.
Yes, ma'am. The reason we're requesting a variance is because Harley-Davidson is rolling out a new rebranding, and Tim's Harley-Davidson of Augusta is one of the few that have been chosen nationwide to have the opportunity to roll out this particular sign. In fact, Harley-Davidson Corporate is completely funding the project. If they are not allowed to have the size that they are proposing, then Harley Corporate is going to most likely withdraw that opportunity from them and give it to another dealership where it will be allowed.
Okay. Anything else you want to share?
Well, also, just its proximity to the interstate, we think it will help be seen by a little better by being a little taller and larger.
Okay, and as you see, staff has placed this drawing that you all submitted, of course, and we received it in pre-meeting, so we also have that now into the records.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can we have staff recommendation? Well, hold up. Do we have any objectors in the audience? Okay, now if we can have staff recommendation.
The application and the parcel do not meet the criteria for granting a variance. Therefore, Planning and Development staff is recommending denial of the variance request. And this concludes staff's recommendation.
Okay. Any comments or questions by board members?
Madam Chair.
Okay, Board Member Mooney.
So the CarMax sign that was on the slides earlier, do we have an idea of how big that sign is in relation to? I'm just trying to understand. I know we don't go off of precedence here, but if there's examples of signs that are already kind of going across this, I'd hate for Harley-Davidson to miss this great opportunity from corporate. Any ideas? Okay. Sorry, I know your mic's not on. You said not sure.
Yeah, I was trying to pull it up real quick. I don't have any idea of how big their sign is, though.
I believe, Ashley, would you mind going back to that slide that had the CarMax? I think it was in the background somewhere. While you guys are looking that up, I had another question about just kind of the max surface area. When calculating the surface area, are we also counting for the voids in which this sign has? Because I see that it has 3 hollow sections. Or are we just calculating that it has a full surface area?
My apologies. I was walking. I didn't hear you.
Yeah, sure. Sorry. Thank you for bringing that up, the sign. On the max surface area that's calculated on this proposal here, does that calculate all the way around the bordered edges, or does it include the hollow section, or are the hollow sections taken out of that max surface area?
It's just the surface area is just the perimeter.
Okay.
That's how we measure it. We don't do the
Whether or not it has
space in
voids.
between.
Okay. So my only concern, and I just put it to the rest of the board members here, is that this sign seems to be significantly hollow. I know it's lit, and it does seem like CarMax's sign is quite substantial as well. This seems like a very exciting opportunity for Harley to have that from corporate. So while I recognize staff is recommending denial, I'd be interested in an opportunity for approval with that sign as proposed.
If I may, staff did note that relief of this, from this particular requirement would not be to the detriment of anyone. So staff did note that in the criteria.
Okay.
Thanks, Director. Board Member Brigham.
Mr. Laney, you wouldn't have any conditions you want to place on it if we decided to approve this, do you?
We would like to limit it to the size that's represented on the paper. So what they've asked for, which is the 333 square feet with a max height of 45 feet, would be our recommendation.
Madam Chair. Ma'am, would you be...
Hold one moment, Board Member Mooney.
I was going to ask the same question.
Sorry. I was letting Board Member Brigham to finish his train of thought here.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Board Member Brigham.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Make sure you turn your microphone on, Board Member
It's
Brigham.
on.
It's on, okay.
It's on. I hadn't turned it off this time. So I can't be accused of that one. Ms. Young, are you agreeable to the added condition that that Ms. Delaney stated?
Can you please clarify the conditions that she put on it? What were the conditions?
I would prefer her to do.
All right. That the freestanding sign will not exceed 333 square feet of max sign surface area, and that the proposed sign will not exceed 45 feet in height.
Yes, ma'am. That's exactly what was proposed, correct? Am I misreading
Are
something?
you agreeable with that?
Yes, I'm agree. Yes, yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion that we approve this.
Second.
Approve with staff's recommendation.
Yes. Well, I didn't think that was.
Okay, it has been motion and second to approve with staff recommendations. All in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Yeah.
Any opposed?
Oppose.
All right, you have your approval. The letter will go in the mail to you on this week.
Thank you so much.
All right, thanks. Have a great one.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda, it's BZA-24-21, and it is a petition by Thomas Heineman on behalf of Zenith Break State Holdings LLC requesting variances from Section 13-3 of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance in order to reduce the rear setback from 25 feet to 10 feet, and Section 13-8 of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance in order to increase the density from 10 to 14 dwelling units. And I'm going to stop there because they have asked to be postponed. They gave proper notice, and a motion isn't required. But if someone is here for this particular application, we just wanted to read it into the record that they gave proper notice.
Okay.
I don't know what was going on.
So, yeah, okay. Because I forgot to say it in the pre-meeting, so I apologize. All right. Item number 5 on your agenda is BZA-24-22, and it is a petition by Andrew Williams III requesting a variance from Section 8-1 of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance to allow for a fence height at 5 feet 6 inches with a 6-foot 4-inch column in the front yard where a 4 feet is permitted on property located at 1227 Highland Avenue. Staff will present.
Ryan Jones, Planner 1. This request concerns a .32 acre parcel at the northwest corner of Helen Street and Highland Avenue. Features a 4,716 square foot home originally built in 1927. The applicant is seeking a variance to construct a fence surrounding the front yard, exceeding the maximum height which is allowed by right. The subject property is a corner lot with front lot lines along Helen Street and Highland Avenue. Per Section 8.1b of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance, fencing in R1 zones is limited to 4 feet in height within the front setback of the home. This pertains to both front lot lines as well as a portion of the lot line adjacent to 1207 Highland Avenue, extending from Highland to the plane of the home. The applicant intends to install a masonry wall along the front lot lines and a wrought iron fence along the side lot line adjacent to 1207 Highland. No fencing is proposed adjacent to 2807 Helen Street. The wall would be approximately 5 feet and 6 inches in height, with the exception of columns, which would carry a height of 6 feet and 4 inches. The variance would equate to a 38% increase in height allowance, or 58% in the case of the columns. Design of the masonry wall is intended to mirror the wall in height and design across the street at 1238 Highland Avenue. You see that wall there on the slides. The property is located within the Somerville Historic District. Should the variance be granted, the wall will also need a certificate of appropriateness from the Historic Preservation Commission, granting approval to the design. Staff received an application for a COA on June 28th. This will be heard by the HPC at their meeting on July 25th. The applicant has presented signatures from nearby property owners indicating their support for the fence as proposed. Those signatures are attached with this report. Staff have received no other public inquiries or comments regarding the petition as was advertised. That concludes staff presentation.
Okay, thanks, Brian. At this time, Andrew Williams, please come to the microphone and state your name and address. And you've heard staff's presentation. At this time, of course, you have the opportunity to share any additional, whatever you would like with the board members.
Sounds good. My name is Andrew Williams. I'm the property owner of 1227 Highland Avenue, 30904. I want to start out by thanking all y'all first for your time and service on this board. I know, listen, preliminary, obviously, yes, I currently have 6 children. I live on the corner of 2 busy streets, especially Highland. So my wife and I are requesting to build this fence. For one reason, it is consistent with the house directly across the street from me. If you can stay in that slide right there, actually, if you can go back to where you just were, the other way, I'm sorry. So that is the house. No, you were there. I'm sorry. Right there. So that is So my house is on the left. This house is directly across the street from me. That column on that far left side right there is approximately 7 feet tall, and the fence is about 6 feet, and it progresses uphill. So therefore, the fence at the lowest height across the street is 5'6". So to be consistent, I took the lowest point, so it doesn't look like necessarily a fortress. And I'm going with the same brick lattice work, so you can still see through it, so it's not as like I said, as it looked like a fort or like a compound. The house diagonal for me has a very similar fence with the same height as well. So that's one thing is consistent with the surrounding houses. And as I mentioned earlier, safety is a big thing for me. I have 6 kids. When I get home from work today, I'll have 10 kids in my yard. There's no doubt. And just that extra 1.5 feet stops one ball can save a kid's life. And I've just seen it the other day. I had a school bus slam on brakes to hit a soccer ball. And the third thing, I didn't bring this up, but actually today, for security purposes, I had someone today at 11:15 cross my perimeter and scout my property. And my children had just went in 10 minutes before, and he stole my neighbor's bikes. And that was 11:15, and I have all of it on camera, filed a police report. So the next thing, just with additional height, will also provide more security. As you said, I have had all surrounding neighbors sign letters that support not only design, but the height as well. My lot is smaller than most lots over there, so that's why my children play in the front yard versus the back, if you can tell that by the parcels. So I think that's it. Oh, I do have one more thing. Y'all mentioned something during y'all's pre-meeting. I don't know if this is relevant. Can I pass this to y'all?
Sure.
I don't know if this is a view from.
You can give it to.
Yeah, perfect.
And also, if they can put it up on the screen for us, please.
Yeah, that'd be great. Y'all mentioned the view from traffic or engineering and traffic. That is a view from me sitting in my truck at the stop sign. So where the wall is going, it will not block the view if you pull up just to a normal distance. If anything, the oak tree, it blocks the view. Not where the wall is being proposed down the sidewalk.
Can we get staff's recommendation?
Yes. All right. The application and the parcel do not meet all of the criteria for granting a variance. Therefore, the Planning and Development staff is recommending denial of the variance request. However, should the board move to approve the applicant's request based on the information provided regarding safety, staff is recommending the following conditions. Number 1, the approval of the variance is for an increase in the allowable fence height not to exceed 5 feet and 6 inches exclusive of columns. The columns shall be no taller than 6 feet 4 inches. And number 2, condition number 2, approval of the variance shall not constitute approval of the design of the fence or wall. The applicant therefore acknowledges that approval of a certificate of appropriateness shall be granted by the Historic Preservation Commission prior to commencement of work. And condition number 3, prior to installation or commencing of work, the applicant must meet with traffic engineering to ensure line of sight. And that concludes staff's recommendation.
Madam Chair.
Okay.
Mr. Williams, are you agreeable to the conditions as stated by staff?
I do.
I make a motion to approve with staff's recommendations.
I'll second.
Okay, it has been motion and second to approve with staff's recommendation, BZA-24-22. All in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, you have your approval, sir. Thanks.
you.
Have a great day. Your
Appreciate
letter
it.
go in the mail to you this week.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Have a great. Legal? All right, means adjourned.
My favorite part of the meeting. All right. See you all next month. Have fun.